They're the wealthiest people in the world.
They got private jets, they've got private communities, they've got private islands.
And with so much money comes incredible power.
They're going to cut resources off from the unwashed masses to protect the planet.
And exclusive access into the most secret circles.
It's all in secret, and therefore, anything goes.
But just how much influence does this elite group really have on America? And what is their ultimate plan?
They control much of our media. They have influence over our political system.
The question always comes down to, are billionaires controlling the U.S. government?
There are those who believe in the existence of a book. A book that contains the most highly guarded secrets of the United States of America. A book whose very existence is known to only a select few. But if such a book exists, what would it contain? Secret fortunes? Secret strategies? Secret alliances? Does there really exist America's Book of Secrets? March 2014. Forbes magazine publishes their annual list of the world's billionaires. It includes 492 Americans, more than any other nation, followed by China with 152 and Russia with 111. Topping the list of the United States richest, Microsoft chairman Bill Gates, worth $76 billion. Berkshire Hathaway's Warren Buffett, worth $58 billion. And Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison, with $48 billion.
America's very rich, and I'm talking about the 1/10 of 1% at the top of the income and wealth spectrum. They are richer than they have ever been in American history, and certainly, by some measures, richer than the richest have ever been in history, period.
The 400 richest Americans are worth a total of $2 trillion. That's roughly $5 billion apiece. The wealthiest Americans are getting richer and richer.
In 2014, American billionaires added nearly $500 billion to their fortunes. Bill Gates alone gained $9 billion. That's nearly $25 million per day, or more than $17,000 a minute.
The top 400 richest people in America have more wealth than the bottom 95% of the American people. The CEO of Walmart, Mike Duke, makes $11,000 an hour. You know, he's got workers making $8 an hour. Before he goes to lunch, he's made more than any one of 1 million Walmart workers working an entire year.
The Walton family controls the Walmart Corporation, the world's largest retailer. Christy Walton, the widow of a son of Walmart's founder, Sam Walton, is the richest woman in America with $36.7 billion. And media mogul Oprah Winfrey has built an empire worth $2.9 billion, making her the country's only African-American billionaire. So just how rich does that make these women?
$1 billion is $1,000 million. If you spent $10,000 a day, it would take you over 300 years to spend the entire sum.
$1 billion, can you imagine? I can't wrap my mind around it. And the only people they can relate to is another billionaire. So they get together, and their agenda is more money and more power.
Billionaire brothers Charles and David Koch own the second largest privately held company, Koch Industries. Their conglomerate, which includes petroleum and chemical companies, rakes in nearly $110 billion each year. The fossil fuel dynamos also own Georgia Pacific, one of the world's leading manufacturers of paper products. And who is the youngest self-made billionaire in the country? Mark Zuckerberg, the co-founder of Facebook and worth over $28 billion, is just 29 years old.
It's important to be tracking America's richest people because of their control over so much of the U.S. economy and also so much of our culture. They own our sports teams, they control much of our media, they have influence over our political system.
But not all billionaires are so well known. Some have kept their fortunes secret, staying almost completely out of the limelight. Richard B. Cohen, the sole owner of C&S Wholesale Grocers, distributes products to more than 4,000 supermarkets across the country. Although he has amassed more than $11 billion, his own hometown of Keene, New Hampshire, was unaware for years, since he lives quietly in a mere $1 million home.
The more private a billionaire is, the less ostentatious they'll be with their spending, most likely. That said, a lot of these billionaires have multiple homes. According to a survey that Forbes did, the majority owned 5 or more homes. So $1 billion means that you can afford not just a $10 million home, but multiple $10 million homes.
But how far do the wealthy go to make and maintain their fortunes? Might they just know how to take advantage of the system? And is there really a billionaire agenda? October 15th, 2013, New York City. After a 7-year-long battle, developers reach an agreement to build 2 luxury towers on 57th Street in Manhattan. Dubbed Billionaire's Row, the building's penthouses are priced at more than $90 million each, and will be some of the tallest residences in the city. Literally putting billionaires on a higher level than everyone else. But could there be a secret reason why billionaires flock to such gilded fortresses?
Certain billionaires live with tremendous anxiety and fear that their bubble could burst. And that bubble, therefore, needs to be well protected and well controlled.
I think you start to see increasingly with these very wealthy are pockets of places where they all like to go together. Kind of started with this building called 157, where a number of billionaires bought these insanely expensive apartments. And they build these communities where just the very elite can afford to be there and spend time together.
When you get that rich and you live in gated communities or, big villas, you have your private jet. You don't have to stand in line at the airports. Everything is done for you. All the services come to you. You don't have to go to the services.
Billionaires have people that they pay to buy their groceries, take care of their kids, pay their bills, fix their houses, do their dishes. They kind of live in their own universe that's removed from the rest of us. So they're not grounded in the economic realities that most of us are.
In 2013, Mark Zuckerberg bought 4 of his neighbors' homes for a whopping $30 million, simply to ensure privacy.
Being rich in America today essentially means you don't have to come across anybody who is not rich. You are in a sanitized bubble that is designed and maintained for rich people.
These people really embody the American dream. And increasingly in recent years, the distance between the rest of us and them has only grown, as has their control of so much of the U.S. economy.
But perhaps the most surprising commonality amongst the nation's billionaires is that most did not inherit their wealth. In fact, nearly 70% of this elite group built their own businesses from the ground up, many even coming from underprivileged families.
Almost all of the billionaires in America today are self-made. Very few, maybe 10% or 15%, inherited their money. So there's a core belief in promoting opportunity and the free market system.
The biggest secret about America's billionaires is that despite what they say, they got there because either they had the right parents, or they had the right luck, where they cornered a market, where they had insider information that enabled them to generate massive fortunes.
So what is the secret to their success? Just how have the top of the 1% made their billions? Could there be something inherent driving billionaires to such extreme levels of wealth? Coming up.
They believe, even when they're stealing with both fists, that they're doing God's work.
Billionaires really do see the world as a proving ground.
June 2010. Billionaires Warren Buffett and Bill and Melinda Gates announce the Giving Pledge. Its mission? Convincing billionaires to give at least half of their money to charity, either during their lifetime or at the time of their death.
The Giving Pledge is a pledge made up by about 122 billionaires who have decided that they're going to give a substantial, if not the lion's share portion of their money to various foundations that will be involved in feeding the poor, improving education, clean water in Africa, things like that.
When you're lucky enough to have a great success, then you have a question, are you going to choose to spend it on yourself? Or do you want to give it back to society?
Bill Gates has had, in many ways, a phenomenally advantageous upbringing that has allowed him to do the great things he has done. His motivation to be philanthropic is more responsibility-based. Someone who has grown up in poverty, as many billionaires have. Larry Ellison began life in Chicago in a very, very poor place. That oftentimes is what induces people to feel a little bit of guilt about the need to pay back.
Do billionaires donate so much of their money because they feel guilty about their fortune? Or could there be another reason, hidden in the way they think?
Billionaires are different from us. They're not just us, but with more money. They think that they deserve to rule the planet. They think that without them, the planet wouldn't turn on its axis.
Billionaires really do see the world as a proving ground, as opposed to millionaires, let's say, who see the world as a playground. And what that really means is billionaires really want to leave their mark.
But do billionaires actually think differently about the world than the rest of us? And might that way of thinking contribute to their great fortunes? Some experts believe the answer is yes, and claim many billionaires have what some commonly refer to as a God complex. In 1995, billionaire investor George Soros even admitted it to the New Yorker magazine.
George Soros is worth more than many small countries. Our new God is money. So, of course, George Soros thinks of himself as a messiah.
Certain billionaires have this grandiose sense of, I am a godlike figure put here to do great things. They see themselves as having some responsibility to change the world.
Soros' net worth tops $23 billion. The once impoverished student built his bank account through clever manipulations of financial markets.
Billionaires like George Soros believe that they're going to lead us to the deregulated free market future with low taxes. They believe, even when they're stealing with both fists, that they're doing God's work.
There are a lot of very scary billionaires out there because after a while they seem to feel their great wealth endows them with superior wisdom and foresight and the right to start meddling with other people's lives. But when you're out there saying, I am doing God's work, all restraint is gone, and I think that's dangerous.
Do billionaires think they know better than the majority? That the American masses are just objects to control? And is there really a secret motivation behind their charity work?
The fastest way, and really the most effective way for billionaires to change the world, is through philanthropy. Because philanthropy involves investing a large amount of money in a cause that they feel is important.
In 1979, George Soros created the Open Society Foundations, an operation aimed at social reform. Since its inception, Soros has given away more than $7 billion to various causes. Oprah Winfrey has used her fortune to promote education, funding a $40 million leadership academy for girls in South Africa. And the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has bestowed more than $28 billion in grants.
Bill Gates has gotten very involved in education to the extent that one of the things that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is supporting is data tracking on children. As a matter of fact, the foundation has already funded bracelets that go on children's arms that track their mood. They want to be able to individually track every child through school. When you explain to parents what's going on when it comes to data tracking, they get very uncomfortable that the government has this kind of information that they can freely share amongst all of the government agencies.
Could a profound sense of responsibility really motivate billionaires to give back to charity? Or is philanthropy a way for the wealthy to exercise their power over the people?
No matter how much money billionaires give away, the fundamental problems that gigantic fortunes being misused politically and distorting our economy remains.
Why do some billionaires donate so much of their money? Is it perhaps a covert method used to manipulate the American agenda? And do the affluent really know what's best for Americans? Or are their philanthropic and even political actions only separating them even further from the masses? Coming up.
The amount of money that these people have, they can shape society.
It's kind of like a Cold War among billionaires. It's mutually assured destruction by money.
April 2nd, 2014. In a 5-4 vote, the Supreme Court decides the government cannot limit the amount of money donors can give to political candidates, committees, and parties. The shocking declaration gives America's ultra-rich free rein to spend their billions on campaign contributions.
Billionaires can exert more influence over our public life than ever before. That's because they have unlimited ability now to fund political causes and to fund their agendas.
This is just one part of a much bigger plan to fundamentally change the system to benefit people like themselves and their friends in their shadow money network.
The ruling expanded a 2010 decision known as Citizens United that paved the way for independent expenditure-only committees, or super PACs, enabling billionaires to contribute as much money as they want to political candidates without being exposed to the public.
The Citizens United decision by the Supreme Court pulled away any type of prohibition of companies donating money to political campaigns. And the question always comes down to the balance and the oversight. Are billionaires controlling the U.S. government?
It's all dark money. We have no idea which billionaires are actually putting their fortunes into our politics and ultimately corrupting our politics. Wealthy individuals can now say they're doing one thing and actually put their money behind a completely contrary politician or cause. There is no disclosure. It's all in secret, and therefore, basically, anything goes.
If people have a lot of money, they can find ways to conceal, to some degree, the expenditures of that money. And if you set up one law that says you have to disclose this, they'll find ways to give money to other groups.
Have politics become a rich man's game? Are massive donations to political candidates another way for billionaires to exert their intrinsic need to control society?
Billionaires do try to influence the political process and the political system because that enables them to affect the laws that get passed. But that's a crapshoot because you ultimately are at the whim of the voters.
Billionaires create front groups and lobbyists, and they create social outreach programs. The amount of money that these people have, they can shape society.
There's absolutely no question that some of these billionaires have selfish interests for getting as deeply as they do into politics. It's not just their ideology. They are business people. They want regulations cut. They don't want special tax loopholes in any way reduced.
According to reports, billionaire conservatives David and Charles Koch have contributed nearly $200 million to free market organizations, as well as groups lobbying against the Affordable Care Act. Liberal George Soros spent millions trying to defeat President Bush in 2004 and continues a crusade to legalize marijuana. Could wealth inequality lead to the destruction of democracy? Or is it just a zero-sum billion-dollar game?
In a way, it's billionaire versus billionaire, and not one single group or agenda of billionaires has really, quote, won in America. It's kind of like a Cold War among billionaires. It's mutually assured destruction by money.
There are all kinds of secretive ways that people will never know anything about. Small pieces of the tax code, small pieces of trade regulations, myriad of tiny things that don't mean much to most Americans but are worth millions to individuals that billionaires can influence through their money and power.
The most important secretive way that they influence the agenda is access that money gives to people in power. Their ability to sit down with somebody like a Barack Obama or a Paul Ryan and whisper in their ear, this is one of the things I'd like to see happen, is very, very powerful and happens every single day in Washington, D.C.
So just how much money are billionaires handing out behind closed doors in an attempt to influence American politics? In 2012, $7 billion was spent on the presidential election. Gambling tycoon Sheldon Adelson, owner of Las Vegas casinos, donated an unprecedented $100 million. $30 million of it went to Republican candidate Mitt Romney. But are candidates free to disagree with their highest donors? Or are they beholden to them?
Warren Buffett's company, Union Pacific Railroad, has benefited more than any other company by the inaction from the Obama administration approving the Keystone Pipeline, because his railroad carries the oil that's now going from Canada down to the Gulf of Mexico.
Do wealthy donors set the political agenda? Perhaps even influencing candidates? And are billionaires only acting independently? Or could they be quietly meeting in secret with other like minds in an effort to further their common goals? Coming up.
The level of security is like the level of security at the CIA.
The wealthy people in this country were chosen by an inside track of elites to be promoted to the positions they're in today.
June 2011. Vail, Colorado. Charles and David Koch hold their biannual summit at the Ritz-Carlton Bachelor Gulch, isolated in an exclusive enclave on Beaver Creek Mountain. The fundraising seminar is one of the most secret meetings of the wealthy, where 300 hand-picked attendees come together to strategize away from prying eyes.
After the 2011 summit in Vail, we learned that major Wall Street titans like Charles Schwab are present and give lots of money, and that one of the senior Koch executives in his sales pitch for why they should donate to them as opposed to any other conservative group was that we can guarantee anonymity.
Chris Christie went to this meeting without putting it on his agenda. His appearance was completely secret. No one in New Jersey knew that he appeared before the Kochs and their little billionaire confab.
More and more like-minded billionaires, regardless of politics, have banded together to promote their common interests. The question is, are their ideals really that different? May 5th, 2009, New York City. A group of wealthy philanthropists, including Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, David Rockefeller Jr., Michael Bloomberg, and Oprah Winfrey, meet confidentially on the secluded campus of Rockefeller University. Dubbed the Good Club, the powerful billionaires plan to join forces in order to save the world. So what's the first thing on their agenda? Finding a way to shrink the world's population.
I find it very alarming that with their fortunes, they are all of a sudden deciding they now have the right to tell other people whether they should or should not have children.
Why is population control the elite's #1 agenda? Because they've already dominated the globe through their corporate and governmental actions, and they really see it as their possession, something they own or something that they're guardians of. They're going to cut resources off from the unwashed masses to protect the planet.
But is the highly secretive meeting really what it seems? Or could they be hiding another, even more profound agenda? June 2013, Watford, England. Between 120 and 150 of the world's most powerful billionaires, politicians, and royals meet at the Luxury Grove Hotel for 3 days to discuss global issues and broker international deals. The annual private conference, known as the Bilderberg Group, is the world's most secretive society of billionaires. Named for the Bilderberg Hotel in the Netherlands, where the first meeting was held in 1954, the alliance was created to foster cooperation between Europe and North America.
The level of security at Bilderberg is like the level of security at the CIA. I mean, you're talking about private security firms, undercover officers, military intelligence, thermal imaging scanners. That's power.
I was once invited actually to speak at the Bilderberg Group, and it seemed to be a group of pretty wealthy people who sat around talking about world issues for a couple of days. It seemed sometimes to be as bewildered by what was going on in the world as everyone else is.
The guest list of the Bilderberg Group routinely includes both conservative and liberal power players. Influential men and women like former United States Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, Chairman of Google Eric Schmidt, PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel, and Amazon.com CEO Jeff Bezos.
The Bilderberg Group is really the top of the pyramid when it comes to secret corporate meetings. They get world leaders from all over the planet together, and then they try to lobby government officials that are there to go along with corporate policies that will enrich them, in many cases, at the expense of other companies, individuals, and national sovereignty.
Some believe this extremely covert group of leaders also has ties to the Illuminati, a secret society dating back to the 18th century, created to forge a new world order in which the ultra-wealthy conspire to dominate world events.
When you get to that level of the super class, you're talking about a wealth that most people can't even fathom. You're talking about shaping nations, shaping societies, shaping entire economies. And they're doing that to maintain that wealth and to use that wealth to then forge the kind of new world order that they have envisioned.
Most of the wealthy people in this country who've achieved that highest level of success were chosen by an inside track of elites to be promoted to the positions they're in today because they can be trusted to continue to carry out the Illuminati's agenda. That is the ultimate secret of the inside billionaire elite.
Are the super rich really working together toward a unified, one world agenda? One that threatens to make them even more rich and powerful? And if so, can anyone stop them? Coming up.
Occupy Wall Street had a simple message. The rich are getting rich at our expense.
Billionaires can exert a subtle control over what issues get put on the national agenda.
September 17th, 2011. Zuccotti Park, New York. Hundreds gather to protest against the 1% of Americans who own 40% of its wealth. The movement becomes known as Occupy Wall Street and appears to catch fire across the nation.
Occupy Wall Street started out with just a few Canadians who said, we're going to sit down at a park in Wall Street, and it became an international phenomenon. And they had a simple message. The rich are getting rich at our expense.
The Occupy Wall Street movement talks about redistributing property throughout the world so that everybody has what they call a fair share of education, a fair share of housing, a fair share of banking, their fair share of retirement, or what we would think of as the American dream.
That gap between the super rich and the rest of America is growing. In 1980, the average CEO was making around 42 times their average employee wage. Today, it's more than 350 times the wage of the average employee.
Most of the billionaires are alarmed by the income gap, but I think that the majority of them feel very strongly that they're part of the solution and not part of the problem.
But who was really behind Occupy Wall Street? Was it simply a spontaneous grassroots movement, or perhaps something more? There are some who believe one of the answers may have been revealed in a Craigslist ad, which actually offered to pay protesters to show up.
If you have a lot of money, you can influence the political conversation in so many different ways. And a lot of that can be done without being traced back to you. But it allows them to create a kind of faux grassroots appeal. It makes it look like an issue has a huge amount of public support when really it could be just a few people giving a ton of money.
But why would America's wealthiest individuals contribute to a movement that protests the very system that has made them rich? There are many who believe the answer can be found by examining one of the places in which the super rich invest their billions: the media. And that by controlling the conversation, they can control what the public knows and thinks, even when it comes to the subject of income disparity.
Billionaires can exert a subtle control over what issues get put on the national agenda. So they can choose the issues that they care about and make sure that they get talked about while others might not.
Many billionaires these days seem to be using at least part of their money to pick up media businesses. The Boston Red Sox owner, John Henry, he picked up the Boston Globe. Pierre Omidyar, who was one of the eBay co-founders, basically starting his own media company from scratch.
In August 2013, Amazon.com's founder Jeff Bezos stunned the world by purchasing the financially troubled Washington Post for $250 million. The move caused some media watchers to ask, why would a savvy billionaire want to invest so much money in what many believe to be a dying media format?
Jeff Bezos wanted to be able to control the political agenda that's coming out of the Washington Post, which was one of the flagship political organs here in the United States. It does make sense to buy a media outlet in order for them to build their platform.
Fox News is owned by Rupert Murdoch, and he certainly has shaped it in some ways after what he's interested in. And the same with Michael Bloomberg and Bloomberg News. I think it's naive, perhaps, to think that we can have these media businesses operating without anybody influencing them.
What really compels the billionaire to continue doing what they're doing is to have a broader and broader impact on the world. It's about changing the course of destiny.
Could billionaires really be using the media to influence what Americans read, watch, buy, and even what they think? And if so, what is their final goal? Some fear the ultimate strategy of America's richest citizens may just be to eliminate the United States government altogether. Coming up.
Everything they do is really geared towards one thing: maintaining their status as billionaires.
It's going to be a mile long, house 50,000 people, and you'll never have to pay taxes.
Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. 180 miles south of Albuquerque lies Spaceport America, the world's first ever commercial launch pad built to take American citizens into outer space. The $209 million project will be home to billionaire Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic, a rocket company that has already sold more than 600 tickets, even though it has yet to make its first commercial launch.
Every billionaire wants to go to space right now, and it's only $250,000 for a ticket.
Some believe the reason billionaires are spending so much on traveling to the beyond has to do with their innate need to be in command. Even Jeff Bezos has created a private aerospace company called Blue Origin. But some wealthy are spending their riches on even more extreme ventures. August 2011. Billionaire and venture capitalist Peter Thiel invests more than $1 million in the Seasteading Institute, a non-profit organization developing independent floating cities in international waters to experiment with new ideas for government.
Peter Thiel, a tech billionaire, is literally trying to start his own country. In fact, many countries. He wants to create floating island nations where billionaires would go off and live on their own in a utopian libertarian existence outside of the U.S. territorial waters where the government can't tell him what to do.
The stated goal is to create this world where you wouldn't be affected by U.S. tax policies or U.S. government policies. So it's this whole idea of creating a completely new world out in the middle of nowhere.
Some experts estimate the cost to build the ocean community off the coast of Northern California is upwards of $200 million.
So you're seeing more and more kind of crazy schemes. One of them is called Freedom Ship. It's going to be a mile long, house 50,000 people. It's basically like an island for the wealthy that will circumnavigate the globe every 2 years, and you'll never have to pay taxes.
Could some of America's billionaires be hatching a plan to become a nation unto themselves? One with its own territory and political agenda? But if so, why?
The super rich are increasingly separating themselves from the rest of the country. They've got private jets, they've got private communities, they've got private islands. It's really become a billionaire bubble or a separate secret country. It's a breakaway country of rich people.
Billionaires are very different from us. They don't make money the way normal people do. They don't punch clocks. They believe that they are the anointed landlords of this planet, and we just get to live in it.
Do billionaires really feel they are smarter and more qualified to make decisions for the American public? Is that perhaps what drives their philanthropic, political, and economic agendas? And could the wealthy be on a secret mission to fix the planet as they see fit, whether citizens like it or not?
Everything that they do with PR, everything that they do with charity, everything that they do with the secret lobbying that goes on is really geared towards one thing: maintaining their status as billionaires. Their first rule would be preserve that empire. And that's what the billionaire agenda really is.
There are good ones, bad ones, but in the end, it's just very hard for the regular person to relate to them. But I think it's a little too easy to cast them all as evil.
All of our lives are in some sense either tied to or controlled by the 1% and the wealthy. Whether we like it or not, they spend so much, they exert so much political power. I say, as go the wealthy, so go the rest of America.
Do American billionaires really harbor a global agenda? One that seeks to control everything, from energy and food consumption to healthcare and even human reproduction. And is it all being done, not in an evil quest for power, but all for our own good? Or could the growing disparity between rich and poor lead to the collapse of the American dream? Perhaps the truth will only be known when the have-nots begin demanding answers, and the billionaire agenda is revealed.